Hey YouTubers, this is a vintage Miss Pac-Man arcade machine. One of the nicer ones that I've seen. Belongs to a friend of mine that I work with here. This is Jerry. We work at the plant together. And he got this machine from a guy probably in 81. Was it 1981?
I got an 85, this is 80.
Oh, it was 85, so he had it just a few years. He won it in a raffle.
I don't know who had it before he did.
Oh, okay. So in the raffle, it had a previous owner before he got it in the raffle.
That's possible. Okay. He didn't say.
So there was a fellow won it in a raffle, and it had a previous owner probably before that. But in 1985, he acquired it because the guy did not know how to turn the volume down. He didn't know that there was a volume control on the main board in the back. And Jerry's owned it ever since 1985. Yeah. And let me see if I get my flashlight so you can see inside this. This machine's in pretty good shape to be so old. Pretty immaculate condition. The boards, everything are all original. Don't like any work's ever been done to it. And he actually loaded this up and brought it to me. You can see the volume dial right there. The guy just didn't know where the volume control was, and it was pissing him off because the volume was at such a high level he couldn't handle it. So he sold this cabinet just like it is pretty much to Jerry for $300. But anyway, it's never had any work done on it. It looks like everything's original. And recently Jerry and me talked about taking a look at it because he had a problem with it not firing up. He had disconnected and reconnected some of his wiring harnesses and got it to work a few times in the past, but it had been sitting for a good while and he couldn't get it to come on. And he packed it up in his truck, brought it over here to my house, and just from moving it in the house, we might have bumped it around just a little bit, and it actually came on. Come to find out, it was the main harness, the connector, just like a JAMA connector on most of these newer boards, and it just had some oxidation on it. And it fired up. It's working great. We actually sit here and played a little bit. We kind of adjusted his colors, and we don't have the sound up right now, but we adjusted his colors, his focus, and his screen voltage a little bit. Got it looking good. Still looks nice and sweet for a 1985 machine. Marquee works and everything's in great shape. There's no flaking or anything to the marquee. There's some scratches and dings and stuff on it, but if you take a look, I mean, the paint is pretty much intact. Right here along the side where usually it's missing tons of paint, he has just a few little scratches. But side art really for this age of a machine is pretty immaculate. Other side looks really good too. It's got a little bit of fading, but anytime you set them in a position where one side might get a little sun, it's going to fade some. But besides just some scuffs, a few little dings and scratches here and there and all, for such an old machine, it really looks great. And I think he's happy to get it running again. He was amazed. He brought it in and we plugged it up, and I thought I was going to troubleshoot it for a few days and get it back to him. And it came on. I said, hey, it's on. We started troubleshooting and looking, and come to find out, when you would mess with the main harness, it just would kill the game. And if you didn't mess with the harness, it would play. So we took it apart, and there's a filter board right before the main Miss Pac-Man board. Has some resistors and chokes on it. Right there's your filter board and your main harness, which is similar to like a JAMA harness. It's unique to this particular game, of course. That connection between that and the filter board was the problem, and we cleaned all the contacts with a pencil eraser, and we even separated that little filter board from the main Miss Pac-Man board and cleaned the contacts on it. Put everything back together, and she fired up, and she's not going dead at all. No problems. Wiggle the harness like crazy, and no problems. Doesn't cut off. Everything's playing good. So we hope we can get this back together. He can get it back to his house, and it'll play for several years to come. But kind of nice to see an old vintage machine like this. I'm used to working on the 1990 something video games, and Mortal Kombat's, Gauntlet Legends, and all. Probably the oldest one besides the old MAME cabinet, which I'm still trying to get to. Still looks like I haven't touched it in a while. But hopefully I can get that done before too long, and we'll be able to play Miss Pac-Man on it when it's done. What's the highest score you ever got on here?
Around 250,000, somewhere in there.
250,000.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about this Pac-Man to even know how many times it takes clearing screen to get that high.
It's probably about 30 screens.
Golly. It's enough to whoop my butt.
You get so far to where whenever you eat the Energizer, it just stays. It doesn't
even turn on blue, really. No. It's like immediately they just go right back to their normal color.
Just whenever you eat the Energizer, the screen doesn't.
So it's only good for points, isn't it? You know, basically eating the Energizer, you have to eat it to clear the screen, and you get points
and
for it.
They're real fast.
Yeah.
The further on you go, the faster.
Does Miss Pac-Man speed up or just the Ghost? Just the Ghost get faster?
The Ghost, yeah.
You can get speed up chips for these boards, I've heard, and it will let them play, like, Fast Miss Pac-Man. And I think there's kits you can get that will let it play Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man.
I've went into arcades where they're all fast.
Yeah.
They do that so they can get more money off you. I mean, they're super fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you could go from A to Z.
Yeah, I've played modified ones on the computer like that, but I've never played on an actual arcade machine. But I think some people that are good probably prefer it to be fast from the get-go, so that, I don't know, maybe they think they can play it better that way. But like you say, if you're not experienced, you're not even going to clear a screen. It's going to take your quarter, But anyway, that's a look at his cabinet here. We've rambled on for almost 7 minutes. Really nice. Tried to talk him into selling it to me, before he gets rid of it, but he's got grandkids. So I think it's a lost cause. But it's great to see an old classic like that.
I'll sell you a couple pinball machines.
Hey, I've always talked about wanting a pinball machine. Thing about pinball machines is there's lots of moving parts. And, if one ever tears up on you, either you better have somebody that knows how to work on it, or you better be ready to learn how to work on it yourself. But that's something we'll talk about.